Hello everyone, welcome to the Philosophy Podcast, and today I'd like to do perhaps the most famous and perhaps most well-known philosophical question that there is, and some would say it almost defines the subject. Some would say it's the whole meaning of philosophy, though that's part of the question in a way, and that question is, what is the meaning of life, or what is the purpose of life? What is the purpose or meaning of life? I think you can agree that's the big one, isn't it? What is the purpose or meaning of life? And like most questions, the first thing we want to do is make sure we've got our question clear and we know whether we're asking the question we really want to ask, and whether we really understand all the terms involved in a question. Now, there's some pretty obvious terms here. What is? It's a question, obviously. That's fairly clear. Life, I think that's fairly clear. It's basically what we experience, we could say. So, we could also say, what is the purpose or meaning of experience? Of being alive, of being conscious. That would be the same meaning. Of the nice small word. All these words I think are pretty clear in the question. But I think the in the question is a bit more complex, and there's been a lot written by philosophers on the word "the", and one of the most influential philosophers and his thinking on the word "the" was Russell, and he was a Cambridge philosopher and professor, and he was actually the professor who taught Wittgenstein, who's very famous, also a very famous philosopher. And Bertrand Russell analysed what "the" means. Now, this was at a time when philosophy was very much into analysing language and basically transforming language into what's called formal logic, which looks a little bit like algebra. And so you've got x's, you've got plus signs, you've got brackets, and this kind of thing. So plus signs mean and. You've also got a sign like this sometimes. Different people use different symbols for different meanings, but basically you can analyse words or phrases or whole arguments, sentences, arguments, paragraphs. You can analyse them, and you can analyse the logical structure, and you can put it down as a formal sort of algebraic looking description, and then you can manipulate it, you can check whether the logic is valid, and it really works. It's amazing, very interesting. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, partly because I can't remember it all, and partly because we want to get on to the main question. But "the" is a very complicated analysis for "the" from Russell, and basically it means "the" refers to something, X, in this case the purpose or the meaning, and it says that this X is the one and only X. It's the same as itself. So basically X equals X. Yeah, that's what V is saying. And it doesn't equal anything else. We could say Y. Yeah, so that's it in a nutshell. So it's quite a complex thing. So what V is saying in this phrase, in this question here, is maybe a bit misleading, because it's saying what is the purpose or meaning of life? And what if it's a multiple, a variety of meanings? What if all sorts of things give meaning to life? Then we're going to be looking for the meaning of life when we really should be looking for lots of things that bring meaning to life. And I think most of us would agree there's lots of things that do give meaning to life, like family, friends, hobbies, work, projects, achievements, study, self-improvement, beauty. There's so many things that add to the meaning of our lives. So this is the first thing that I'd like to point out, that is the right thing to be using here. Maybe we should be saying what are the most important purposes or meanings of life. Maybe that's a better question. So let's look at purpose and meaning. Well, meaning is an interesting one in philosophy, because meaning is something we talk about a lot, that we're talking about the meaning of the word the. But in another language it could be la, or it could be der in German, you know. So this word, this symbol THE, isn't really necessary for this meaning, because this symbol, or these symbols, mean the same. These symbols, and in Chinese, you know, who knows what it might be, yeah. But that means the same, and it would have the same logical structure. So the meaning is something beyond the symbols, beyond the language even, and seems to be something inside a person. It's really the meaning we attribute, or human beings attribute to something. Now obviously life itself is something. The experience I have is something. It's not an object, but it's something. So if we're looking for the meaning of life, of experience, of being alive, then we're looking for something perhaps that we attribute to it. I.e., it's not in life itself, it's not out there in experience, but it's inside us. That we bring to the experience, and that we attribute, that it's a meaning that we see in it. So it's an internal thing there. Whereas purpose would seem to me to be an external thing. And I think, you know, when I think of purpose, I'm thinking about why I'm alive. Now, obviously it's not something I could give myself, because to give a purpose to something, you have to exist. And so I can't have given myself a purpose for this life, because, or for my life, for existence, because I would have to exist to give myself a purpose for existence. Now, that would imply that some outside agent or outside person from myself has given me the purpose to exist, or has some purpose for me to exist. Obviously that would be potentially God. Now that doesn't mean that I couldn't have had a purpose for this particular phase of my life. Perhaps before I was born, some people speculate that we actually have a purpose and we choose what our life is going to be about. But what I'm talking about is the purpose for even existing at all. So prior to that, before I even exist, I can't give myself a purpose. I can't have a purpose. So that's an interesting aspect. That needs to be given from outside. And this meaning is normally going to be from inside, that we attribute to something. So it seems like these two words aren't quite compatible. Now, I guess you're hoping now for me to say what I think the meaning of life is, or what I think one of the most important meanings and purposes of our life is. And I would say that my current thoughts on that are that one of the major things we're here to do is to become a person. And of course normally we think of ourselves as a person. Everyone calls us a person. We're legally called a person, but I think that's a bit of a misnomer, really. I think we're really in the process of becoming a person, and I think that takes quite a lot of time and a lot of experiences, and I think a lot of help. But also I think that's probably the major reason why we're here, why we're in this wonderful world, this wonderful universe. I'm surrounded by often very wonderful people, sometimes not so wonderful, but I believe that we are here to become an individual, to become a person in our own right. And so the idea that we might be children of God might be quite literal, that we are little seeds of consciousness given a proper place to grow, and we become, eventually we grow up and we become a person. And perhaps that takes many lifetimes, or perhaps that takes one lifetime here and another lifetime in a different plane that lasts much longer. Be like the Christian idea, but that's basically what I think the purpose is. So for what it's worth, I think it's quite a good purpose to have, and in a way that is a purpose to find your purpose and to find your meaning to life. It's not to look outside yourself and to seek a purpose outside. It is to realise that you are the purpose, and that once you become fully yourself and fully developed as a person, which, as I say, might take the equivalent of many lifetimes, that at that point only then might you really be talking about setting a purpose for yourself, like a real solid the purpose, the meaning, rather than all these things that add meaning to our lives. So in a way, your purpose is to find your purpose, and to find your purpose, you have to find you. You have to become you, become the person you could be. And so there we go. There's a little video on what is the purpose of life. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye for now.